Hi, my friends. So, let's be honest here. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, okay? When we're going through life, even when we are bettering ourselves, understanding the work that is needed, what's necessary, so we can be in this, higher frequency most of the time, and understand ourselves better, know who we are, live in the moment, live in the now. Always be aware of what's going on within and without you. All of these things. What you have to keep in mind about all of that is that life happens. Ever heard that phrase? Yeah, life happens. And there are always gonna be those few things that will happen in your life at certain points. In some instances, they may happen a lot. After you've reached a certain point, it may happen a lot less, but it will still happen. The things that sometimes are out of your control. And those things, they have a purpose, right? It's to remind you that no matter how perfect your life is, or how good things are going, or how good you're feeling about yourself, sometimes you're never always gonna be having this perfect, you know, honky dory sunshine and rainbow days like one after the other. That's a pipe dream, my friends. That's not gonna happen. Okay, and just know that. Be mindful of that. Remember that because people have so many misconceptions about life. It's kind of like, yeah, I never understand how so many people idolize famous people, and let's say whether they are actors or musicians, just people that are famous in general. It's like people idolize these people without knowing how miserable some of their lives are sometimes. And it's not a secret either, because there's always some tabloid magazine out there talking about this stuff 24/7. You don't even have to consume that type of information to know these things because you go to the grocery store, there's going to be something there talking about somebody's lives. And yeah, a lot of that is probably sensationalism because they want to make money and sell stuff. A lot of it is probably going to be lies, but not all of it. So don't go on thinking that just because people have all the money that they can have to buy whatever they want, that their lives are perfect and they're always happy, because that's not the case. Sometimes it's the other way around. Having a lot of money, a lot of power, has a cost. And people need to understand that you have to be willing to pay that cost if you're one of those people that want to be like that someday. And look, there's nothing wrong with being ambitious and wanting to do things like that in your life. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But remember, there's a price to pay if that's the type of person that you want to be. Remember that all the most powerful, spiritual people that ever lived on this earth, the ones that were like paving the way for spiritual growth for everybody else, the ones that, you know, are known throughout history today. You know, the names are, you know, the names, you know, Jesus was not the only one. He was one of the biggest players, but there were many others. And they were all kind of equal to a certain degree in terms of what they knew. But I think I've touched on this subject before on one of the videos I made in the past, and I'm gonna throw that challenge out there once again. If somebody if somebody wants to take up on the challenge, feel free to chime in the comments and tell me. I don't know. I don't think I've read about anyone that was up there. You know, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna. Uh, you know, there were so many. The list is huge. Tibet alone had so many of them. Th- th- there were so many of them, but I don't think I ever read about any of them that were rich or wealthy when it came down to material things. Matter of fact, I think they all rejected that and walked away from it. I mean, Buddha originally was royal. He was like a prince, and he rejected his wealth to follow his spiritual path. So let that sink in for a minute. You know, and look, I'm not here telling anyone that it's okay to be poor and stay poor. Okay, now don't get it twisted here. What I'm saying is there's a difference between having enough to have the things you need and want in life, to have comfort, right, and all of that, and having so much that you don't even know what you're gonna do with it. Because what's the point? Unless you're gonna be helping a lot of people with all this money that you have, what's the point? I mean, you have people like Elon Musk. The guy has so much money. What is he gonna do with that money? He could be helping so many people and still have a crap load left for himself. But I don't see him doing any of that, do you? And when these big people, famous people who have money, you know, they claim they're doing things to help people. Half the time it's a lie anyway. You know, all of these, like, you gotta be smart and look into these things. You know, fundraisers and things like that. Where's the money really going? Have you ever stopped to think about that? Yeah, I don't know. I'm very skeptical about some of this stuff. So, and that's what I mean, you know, by what I'm saying. It's like, yeah. So this the spiritual path is complicated sometimes, and like I said, it's not always gonna be sunshine and rainbows. And yeah, once you've been through enough life lessons and things like that, that you've learned the things you've needed to learn, things will ease out and kind of level, level it out to a certain degree. But the way the way it's been for me personally and how it feels is every time you reach certain levels in terms of growth, there's always going to be some sort of challenge thrown your way. That's the way source, God, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, okay, is making sure that Okay, you want to stay on the path, let's see how dedicated you are. They're going to throw some curveballs at you, and you better be aware of that, and know and understand that the reason why that's happening is because they want to make sure that you have you're gonna keep your integrity, spiritually speaking, and that you're not gonna be afraid of doing whatever it is that you got to do to continue on this path. So in the Gnostic circles and esoteric schools of old, it is it is taught that it is known that when you are progressing spiritually speaking, they call it the three mountains. You got to do the first mountain, then you do the second mountain, then you do the third mountain, and each mountain is gonna have its set of challenges and lessons that you have to go through to basically graduate. So you do the first mountain, and then you got to do the second one, and then you got to do the third one. And I'm not gonna get into detail here. Go ahead and do some research online if you want to read about that. It's very interesting, very in depth stuff. But it is said that at some point, the way it works is, how Jesus carried his cross, and he was being like whipped and all that stuff, and he just had to keep on going. Everybody, when you reach that point, spiritually speaking, and there are going to be very few people that are going to be able to do that and achieve that, just so you know. But to become one of these real ascended masters that everybody talks about, you have to do that work. It is not possible if you don't do that work. And part of that work is you have to carry your own cross. But the only what set Jesus apart from everybody else in that sense is that he did that on the physical plane, in the physical reality. He took it to a whole nother level. Now, you still have to do that in the spiritual planes. So you basically go through the same stuff that he did. You're going to go through the same pain. You're going to carry that same cross, and you even get crucified. In the astral. Because you have to die and then be reborn. And this is not metaphorical. You have to do it if you want to reach that point. Which, again, like I said, very few people do. Because this work is not for the faint of heart. And like I said, this is the type of stuff that it takes like multiple lifetimes to get there. Hundreds. 108 is the max that you can have at any given cycle. So if you don't achieve that within 108 lives, then the wheel turns and nature has to do that process for you, and then you have to basically be purged and cleansed, and then you start a new cycle, fresh, brand new. So if within 108 lives you don't do that, then you gotta start it all over again from scratch. Life one again. Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you look at the teachings and what is understood and acknowledged by ancient traditions and cultures, and how they explain the process works, and all of that. There is a reason for all of that. So so they say that when you go through all of that, if you don't achieve it within those 108 opportunities that you were given, then the cycle ends and you got to start a brand new cycle. But before you start a brand new cycle, then you have to go and relearn everything again. You have to go to the mineral realm, you have to go to the plant realm, animal realm, to be able to enter a vessel as a human soul again. So that takes a long time. It might take thousands of years. I don't know how the time works when it comes down to that, but because you don't start a brand new cycle and they put you straight into a human body. That's not how it works. You have to learn everything again. Because when the cycle ends and it's kind of purged, it is said and understood that you basically unlearn everything. And then you got to learn it again. Now, I don't know how true that is. You know, this is all information that's been out for thousands of years. Um, I don't know the accuracy of the information, but I can tell you, I'm pretty sure a lot of it is pretty on point. So maybe that's something to meditate upon and go to the Akashic record and verify it for yourself. You know, something to something to think about. Yeah, and that's really, you know, all that it is, guys. Ladies and gents, it's like it's not always gonna be sunshines and rainbows. Don't don't fool yourself here. It doesn't work that way. And I'm pretty sure you guys know that. So this is just a reminder. Sometimes, you know, life's gonna happen and life happens. And we just gotta deal with it and just move on. And that's pretty much it, you know. Yeah, I think this is all I wanted to talk about on this one. Just keep that in mind. It's all good though. It's all good. It's all part of the learning process. That's the beauty of it. We learn. We always learn. One way or another. We're always learning and always growing. It might go slower to some, you know, but everybody has their own pace and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us, you know, are gonna do it faster than others, but everybody has their own pace and there's nothing wrong with, you know, going slower if that's how you choose to live your life. Just keep in mind, you know, it's not infinite opportunities here. So at some point you gotta do some catch up. And this is pretty much all I wanted to say today. So with that said, I love you all. And yeah, you know, keep on loving yourself. And I'll see you next time, guys. Take care.